Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we understand you're looking to cut through the noise and get to the core of what matters without getting bogged down in endless details.
Mm-hmm.
You want to learn efficiently, and that's exactly what we're here for.
That's right.
Today, we're diving into a guide that offers a really smart way to take your curiosity about a topic and transform it into engaging audiovisual content you can easily share.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at a streamlined approach, a method actually created by Dave Gambrill of Digital Marketing Mentorship.
Ah.
It takes you from that initial research phase all the way to putting your ideas out there for others to experience, sort of demystifying the whole process, you know?
Right, turning knowledge into something tangible and shareable.
Exactly. And the great thing about this guide, I think, is that it's designed to be accessible.
Yeah, that's key.
It's not about being like a tech whiz or anything.
Not at all.
It's just about having a clear path to share what you understand. So our mission here really is to just walk through those essential steps, give people a solid grasp of how they can take what they learn and make something compelling with it. Audio-visual content.
Precisely. So let's kick things off right at the beginning. How do we even start exploring a subject? Where does the guide point us first?
Okay, so the guide starts us off with research, which makes sense. And it specifically points to using Gemini as a really efficient way to gather information.
Gemini. Okay.
Now, people might have used other AI research tools, but the guide kind of positions Gemini as this, helpful research buddy.
A research buddy. I like that.
Yeah, for quickly finding what you need. It's interesting how it can really speed up that initial discovery phase.
Absolutely. And getting started with Gemini sounds pretty simple. If you're on a computer, you just pop over to gemini.google.com in your browser.
Right.
And if you're on a phone or tablet, you can use the Gemini app or just the same website, right, in your mobile browser.
Either way, works. But the real power, it seems, comes from how you ask your questions. The guide really hammers this point home, be specific.
That's a key insight, isn't it? Instead of just typing in something broad, like, I don't know, dogs.
Right, exactly. That's too vague. You'll get much better, more focused results asking something like, what are the most popular dog breeds in the United States?
Or, tell me about the history of golden retrievers. Something concrete.
Exactly. It's about guiding the AI, guiding Gemini, to give you the specific information you're actually looking for.
And it's not just a one-shot deal either. The guide highlights asking follow-up questions.
Yeah, that's important.
If Gemini gives you an answer that sparks another question, or maybe something isn't totally clear,
You just ask it. Ask it to elaborate, or maybe, can you explain that in simpler terms?
it's like having a conversation, really. An ongoing dialogue to deepen your understanding.
That back and forth is what really helps, I think. It lets you drill down into the topic, clarify things as you go.
Yeah, avoids wading through tons of irrelevant stuff. Keeps the research focused.
Okay, so once you've used Gemini, you've got some interesting info.
The
next step is grabbing that text, right?
Yep. On a computer, it's the usual, click, drag, right-click, copy.
Standard stuff.
And on a phone or tablet, it's usually a tap and hold, then select copy. Pretty simple. The guide points out it's easy to get that info ready for the next stage.
Okay, so research is copied. What does the guide suggest next? Where do we put this stuff?
Right. So the guide then talks about organizing that information, and it recommends using Google Docs for this part.
Google Docs.
Yeah.
Okay, what the extra step? Why not go straight to the next tool?
Well, the guide explains it provides a kind of flexible space, like a sandbox, to structure your thoughts before you bring everything into NotebookLM.
Ah, okay. Laying the groundwork.
Exactly, like doing a rough sketch before you paint. And starting a Google Doc is easydocs.google.com on the web, or the Google Docs app on mobile. Just open a new doc.
Got it. And then it's just a simple paste, right? Paste in the text you copied from Gemini.
Yep, standard copy-paste. Works the same on computer or mobile.
Okay, makes sense.
But this is where you start shaping that raw info. The guide suggests, breaking up big paragraphs, maybe reordering points.
Ah, tidying it up.
Yeah, and even adding your own notes or questions in there, which is interesting because the guide mentions NotebookLM will actually read those notes too.
Oh, that's useful. So you can kind of guide the audio flow with your own annotations.
Seems like it. This stage is really about taking that collection of facts and starting to mold it, give it a narrative structure for the audio conversation.
Highlighting key points, making sure it flows logically. Okay. Got it.
Okay, so quick recap. Gemini for research, Google Docs for organizing and adding notes. What's the next stage, according to the guide? Creating the actual audio.
That's it. This is where NotebookLM comes into play.
Yeah.
The guide introduces it as the tool to transform your written text into spoken audio.
NotebookLM. Okay, and how do we access that?
Simple enough, just head to notebooklm.google in your browser.
Got it. NotebookLM.google, and once you're there.
The guide outlines creating a new notebook. You'll probably see a new notebook button or maybe a plus sign.
Standard interface stuff.
Pretty much. After you have your notebook set up, the really crucial step is adding your Google Doc as a source.
Ah, bringing in the organized research. How does that work?
This is where the integration helps. NotebookLM can connect to your Google Drive. So the guide says to look for an Add Source button, maybe a Google Drive icon.
Okay, so it links directly. That's handy.
Yeah, you just select the Google Doc you prepared earlier.
Right, so the doc is linked. Now, how do we actually tell NotebookLM to, make the audio?
The guide explains you'll look for options like audio or generate audio or maybe even listen.
Okay. And it sounds like you might be able to select just parts of the text if you don't want the whole thing read aloud at once.
That's a great point, yeah. It seems to offer that flexibility. The guide also mentions you might get some choices about the audio itself.
Oh, like what?
Things like selecting different voices, maybe adjusting the speaking speed, a bit of personalization.
Nice. Okay, so you select your text, pick your voice settings, then what?
Then you hit the button, generate or play or whatever it's called, and you listen to NotebookLM bring your text to life.
That's the cool part, hearing it.
Definitely. And once you're happy with how it sounds, the guide points out the download option, usually an icon or menu choice.
To get the audio file itself, probably MP3 or WAV.
Likely, yeah. Those are common formats. And the guide reminds you, importantly, to remember where you save that file on your computer or device.
Good tip. Don't want to lose it after all that work. Okay, so now we have an audio file. But the guide doesn't stop there, right? It talks about making it visually engaging.
Exactly. Takes it a step further. How to make that audio more suitable for, online sharing, where visuals matter.
And for that, the guide introduces us to Veed.io. That's Veed.io.
Right. You head there in your web browser. The guide notes you might need to sign up for a free account if you haven't used it before.
Okay, standard practice. Once you're in.
First step is to upload that audio file you just downloaded from NotebookLM. Should be an upload button somewhere prominent.
Got it. Audio file goes into Veed. Then what? It shows up on a timeline, I assume.
Yeah, typically a timeline interface. And the guide then highlights adding a waveform. That visual squiggle that moves with the sound.
Oh, yeah. You see those all the time on social media audio clips. Where do you find that?
The guide suggests looking in an Elements or maybe Add Element section within Veed. Find the waveform option there.
And can you customize it? Like change the color or how thick it is?
Seems so, yeah. The guide points out you can often tweak the appearance to match your style, make it stand out a bit.
Cool. What else is important here?
A key thing the guide emphasizes is making sure that waveform and really any other visuals you add lasts for the entire length of your audio.
Ah, right. So it doesn't just stop halfway through? How do you do that?
Usually you can just drag the edges of the waveform element on the timeline to stretch it out to match the audio duration.
Okay, makes sense. What about backgrounds? Just a plain waveform looks a bit boring sometimes.
Good point. The guide suggests adding a static background image, something relevant to your topic, obviously.
How do you add that?
Usually through a media or upload section.
Yeah.
Upload your image, add it to the timeline, and probably resize it to fill the video frame behind the waveform.
Nice. Okay, waveform, background image. What else?
Something the guide really stresses, and it's super important, is adding captions for accessibility.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Lots of people watch videos with the sound off.
Exactly. So Veed usually has an auto subtitles or captions feature. Click that, and it tries to automatically generate them from your audio.
Tries to. Sound like a warning.
Well, the guide strongly advises reviewing and editing those auto captions.
Ah, okay. Because automatic transcription isn't always perfect.
Precisely. They're a great starting point, but you need to check them for accuracy. Make corrections. It's vital for accessibility and just looking professional.
Definitely worth the extra few minutes. Okay, so captions are checked. Anything else Veed can do?
The guide mentions other optional things, like adding text overlays, maybe a title, or even your logo for branding.
Right, extra polish.
Yeah. And once you've got all your visual elements arranged, the guide says, naturally, to preview the whole thing. Watch it through, make sure it all lines up.
Makes sense. Check your work before you finalize it. And then exporting.
Then it's time to export. Look for that export or download button. The guide recommends choosing MP4 format. That's usually the most compatible video format for web sharing.
MP4. Got it. And just like the audio file.
Remember where you save the final video file.
Ah, yes. Crucial step. Okay, so now we've gone from research to a finished, visually engaging audiogram file. The final piece of the puzzle, according to the guide, is sharing it.
Exactly. Getting your creation out there for people to see and hear.
Where does the guide suggest sharing?
It points to a whole bunch of places. You know, the obvious video sites like YouTube, but also social media, Facebook, X, used to be Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Lots of options.
And your own website or blog, too, presumably.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can always embed it there.
And the upload process, is it pretty similar across these platforms?
The guide gives a general idea. The exact buttons might differ slightly, but the core concept is the same. Find the upload option, select your MP4 video file.
But uploading the file isn't the only thing, is it?
Not at all. The guide really emphasizes adding a clear, compelling title and a detailed description.
Okay. Why is that so important?
Search and discovery. Plus, relevant tags or keywords. This stuff helps people find your audiogram when they're searching for information on that topic.
Ah, helps the platform algorithms understand what your content is about.
Exactly. And the guide also suggests promoting it, like if you post it on YouTube, maybe share the link on X or LinkedIn to maximize reach.
Makes sense. Any other tips for success the guide mentions?
Yeah, a few good ones. Optimize those titles and descriptions with keywords people might actually search for. For platforms like YouTube, create an engaging thumbnail image, that little preview picture. It can really grab attention.
Right. Got to make people want to click.
Use relevant hashtags on social media, too. That helps with visibility.
Yeah.
And, importantly, engage with your audience. If people comment, respond.
Build that connection. Good advice.
And one final point the guide makes about sharing. Tailor your title and description a bit for each platform.
Oh, how so?
Well, what works best on, say, Instagram, which is very visual, might be different from what works on LinkedIn, which is more professional. Adjust your wording accordingly.
Smart. Context matters.
Definitely. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up the guide's roadmap.
Let's quickly recap then. We dove into this guide. Started with research using Gemini.
Being specific with questions.
Then organizing thoughts and findings in Google Docs, adding your own notes.
Right, prepping the structure.
Then using NotebookLM to generate the actual audio conversation from that doc.
Downloading that audio file.
Taking that audio into Veed.io to create a visual audiogram, adding a waveform, background, and crucial captions.
Don't forget checking those captions.
Absolutely. Checking the captions, then exporting the final MP4 video.
And the last step, sharing it effectively online, YouTube, social media, your website, using good titles, descriptions, tags, and engaging with viewers.
It's a really well-structured process, isn't it? It breaks down something that might seem kind of daunting into these manageable steps.
It really does. It empowers you, I think, to take what you know or what you've learned and make it much more accessible and engaging for other people.
Absolutely. And it kind of leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? You know, think about your own interests, your own work. How could you use this process?
Yeah, how could you apply this to share something you're passionate about in a new way? It's a great question.
Definitely something to ponder. And just a reminder, this approach comes from the guide by Dave Gambrill of Digital Marketing Mentorship. If you want to stay on top of marketing and AI trends, definitely connect with Dave on social media.
Good call. Always good to keep learning.
For sure. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.